was in a point where I was giving up on Canada, and you guys have given me hope. You guys are giving us strength. You guys are keeping us going. And wow, we are one big team, one big national team. The entire world is watching us. I firmly believe this is our last stand, and we are not coming home until you are all free.
The hawking will continue until freedom is proved.
As I watched that, I realized why they want 7 years for Tamara and 8 for Chris. Up until that very moment, the Liberals had faced basically zero opposition. Tamara and Chris and what they built together became the single greatest opposition movement to the Liberals that they had faced in, at that point, I think 8 years, 7 years, whatever. They're being politically punished for that. They were more effective than anything the official conservatives had ever done. And it started with only grassroots momentum. They were able to out-fundraise everybody. Canadians who had felt alone, segregated, and gaslit realized what was happening to them, how they had been lied to. And it was that moment where the vaccinated and the unvaccinated realized actually that we're all in this together, that we should not be held apart from each other. And whatever medical choices we make are our own business, and not the government or our bartender or our hockey coach. Watching that, that is why they want 7 years and 8 years, is because the Liberals can never have that happen to them again.
You are 100% right, Sheila. And by the way, I just want to comment on that 3-minute montage that we saw. It brings to mind the tagline on the poster for the horror movie Phantasm circa 1979, namely, if this one doesn't scare you, you're already dead. Just brilliant. Right. If that 3 minutes of footage doesn't give you goosebumps, well, check your pulse. That was unbelievable what happened in that point in history in Canada in late January and through February. And, Sheila, to those who say, yeah, but what did it accomplish? You occupied Ottawa for 3.5 weeks. You honked your horns, but what happened? Oh, well, I'll tell you one tangible thing. To your original point off the hopper, Sheila, it got rid of O'Toole. That was his death knell, his weak-kneed indecision, and the party thankfully threw him out. I'm only amazed it wasn't a unanimous vote. I would love to know those MPs that did vote for him, but I understand it's a secret vote. So, getting rid of O'Fool and bringing in Pierre Poilievre, thank you very much, Freedom Convoy 2022.
Not just did it get rid of O'Toole, it brought in a different, bolder brand of conservatism.
Yes.
I think it led to the end, besides all of our hard work, holding them to account, it led to the end of Jason Kenney in Alberta. Now we have Danielle Smith, who is really leading the way on major cultural and economic issues in this country. It liberated Albertans from Jason Kenney's vaccine passport that most definitely wasn't a vaccine passport, according to him. The vaccine passport dropped before as the Freedom Convoy crossed 50th Street in Lloydminster, going from Alberta to Saskatchewan. Scott Moe in Saskatchewan's like, you know what? We don't need a vaccine passport here anymore. Don't convoy me, bro. It changed a lot of things in this country. It changed the kind of conservatism. We don't have that scaredy cat, mushy middle, Aaron O'Toole style conservatism in this country anymore. And that is directly related to the Freedom Convoy. And they should be proud of themselves for it.
Of course, as always, Sheila, there are statistical anomalies such as Doug Ford, the so-called conservative premier of Ontario. That's the shadow of Aaron O'Toole, I would argue. By the way, since it is National Junk Food Day, do you think Premier Ford is having an extra slice of cherry cheesecake today, Sheila? Just wondering.
I'm sure he's probably splitting his cherry cheesecake from a can with Mark Carney. One of the laziest cheesecake I've ever seen in my life.
It was horrible.
It was. It was just dumping canned stuff into a pie plate. It's stupid. Pierre Poilievre, now speaking of a different brand of conservatism, imagine Aaron O'Toole saying these things, right?
Oh, no. No.
He says, let me get this straight. While rampant violent offenders are released hours after getting their most recent charges, and anti-Semitic rioters vandalize businesses, terrorize daycares, and block traffic without consequences, the Crown wants 7 years prison time for the charge of mischief for Lich and Barber. Actually, it's 8 for Barber, and the destruction of his livelihood. How is this justice? I'm glad he said it. It's outrageous. And you know, the reason he's the leader is because of those two.
Isn't it so refreshing? And to your point, can you imagine Aaron O'Toole
Let's see
saying
what Aaron
this?
O'Toole is talking about today.
No. And you know, because I'll never forget, once he was shown the door, it was like New Year's Day 2023, Aaron O'Toole published that essay of the lack of decorum in politics. You know, these people waving F Trudeau flags. Oh, it's so nasty. It's so shameful. This is from the freshly departed conservative leader. He's worried about F Trudeau flags. That's why he is the ex-leader, Sheila.
Yeah, he has basically tweeted nothing about crime in this country. Anyway.
Yeah, but you know what? It was so nice to see O'Toole get scorched for that position.
I'm glad.
He never learns.
And that's the thing. These like recently shown the door conservative failed conservative leaders, they don't know enough to shut up. Jason Kenney, I'm talking to you. You don't have advice to give anybody. You were run out of Alberta as a conservative. That's a real accomplishment, actually. Because, you know, you could run a sack of potatoes in a blue jersey and we'll vote for them. And yet he was run out of town on a rail for not being conservative enough. So why don't you shut up, you guys? Just shut up. Go away in shame.
Sheila,
these people don't have any shame.
What happened to that guy? I never would have dreamt
you know what?
it.
It's one thing to talk about stuff and talk about the big ideas of conservatism, religious freedom, all that stuff. It's real easy to talk about it. It's tougher to do it. And he just didn't do it. Like, I believe in religious freedom. That's why and not just for myself as a Catholic, but I spent a lot of time in Protestant churches who are fighting against the lockdown. You know, you just can't fight for your own tribe. You have to fight for the idea for everybody's tribe. And he just couldn't do it, which means that he was completely insincere in his belief. He believed in it as a theory, but when he was the guy that had to practice it, couldn't do it.
You know what? I think that's the best analysis I've heard of what happened, because I always used to believe what Mr. Kenney was selling. But when push came to shove, I think you're right. He didn't have the stomach to do the right thing.
No, he's just a theorist and not a doer. And those people are best left to academics and not politics. Let's, do we need to hit an ad break, Efron? We'll come back into the Toronto. We'll touch briefly on the Toronto teen killer, which we can't talk a lot about now because he's been captured. Do you want to hit it? Efron tells me that Andrew Lawton, sorry, just staying on the Tamara Lich thing, even though we're 43 minutes into the Tamara Lich thing. Andrew Lawton. So Andrew Lawton, we love Andrew.
We do.
Formerly at True North. He stars in our documentary about medical assistance in dying. And Andrew is now the Conservative MP for London. Worked his butt off for that spot too, by the way. He says, the prosecution of Tamara Lich and Chris Barber has been excessive and vindictive. Vindictive is a great word to describe it. The Crown is seeking a 7-year sentence, 8 for Chris, for a 3-week peaceful protest almost 3.5 years ago, all while violent offenders are given slaps on the wrist. He goes on to say, this prosecution has taken over 3 years of judicial resources, while some offenders have walked because their cases weren't heard in time. What a great point. To add insult to injury, the Crown is seeking to seize Chris Barber's truck. This serves no purpose other than spite.
Oh, yeah.
Completely. Yes, thank you, Andrew. 100%.
Yeah, Andrew's doing a great job. And by the way, Sheila, I urge our viewers to seek out Andrew Lawton's book about the Freedom Convoy. It is superb. He really...
He was on the ground. Yep.
It's a fantastic piece of journalism.